Warning, what you are about to hear will disrupt the norm. We are the voice of the social misfit. We empower the outliers.
Nah, don't run from the discomfort. You need to stay in it. Feel the feels and feel some type of way. Let it hit your core, because that's where our healing and our change begins.
System malfunction. System override.
Hey, you guys, welcome to Feeling Triggered Podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Jarrell.
And Feeling Triggered Podcast is pretty much a conversation that forces us not to run from discomfort, but to face it, acknowledge our triggers, and become more vulnerable. We got to go through it to grow through it, okay?
All the things.
So this is our Black History Month podcast. So we're going to get blackity black, and really talk about some heavy duty things. Now, our very first segment is, what's it called, Jarrell?
Feel the feels.
Okay. Yes, our Feel the Feels segment, we want to do a check-in. We want to see how we're doing. We want to see how you're doing. But before we ask how you're doing, because I'm going to ask Jarrell and I'm going to ask Sarah how you're doing, I want us to have an honest, vulnerable, like raw, real response. So not the I'm good, not the I'm fine, but how are y'all? How are y'all doing right now?
Let's see. Where do I even start? I just honestly, I'm like emotionally detached from like so much of the world right now. And I think that's because of COVID. And I'm finding it really hard to get back into life and get back into like normalcy and what was life like before COVID. Even though we're still in COVID, I cannot get a rhythm together. And I've talked to other people, and a lot of other people are in that same headspace of like, we can't get back on track because of, COVID has just completely thrown us off. And I'm emotionally tired. I'm just emotionally there. What about y'all?
Man, I can agree with that to an extent, because in my situation, the world, like my life doesn't look the same as it did, prior to COVID happening. So like you said, trying to find that level of normalcy, trying to create those new routines has been somewhat exhausting. But I'm actually feeling like I'm in a really good space. I feel like COVID gave me an opportunity to finish my incubation process for a lot of different things that I was trying to get accomplished. It kind of put me in a space to just sit down and be like, hey, you got time. Like, you don't have nothing else to do. You don't have no excuses. So I'm in somewhat of a motivated space about what if we see a post-COVID. I don't feel like it's going to be a post-COVID, just like it's not a post-flu or post anything. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just going to be a new normal. So I'm motivated and excited to see what this new normal is going to look like, because thus far God been showing off a little bit in my life. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Okay. And I think I'm feeling drained. I think I'm feeling emotionally drained as well. There's just so much going on. I feel like everything needs attention right now, because kind of like what Jarrell said, I started a lot of different things during COVID, but I'm probably leaning emotionally more towards how Sarah's feeling, just kind of spent. And that personally, but that's also my position in the world right now, just because it's February and I feel like we're very close to where we were about Jim Crow, Civil War type of time. Just the mental fatigue around that is just very depleting. So I think that today is a good day to talk about things that are really important to the Black community, Black issues, what's triggering us right now. And we're going to get into all of that this episode. So I'm really excited about it. Firstly, before we get into that, I just want to shout out my Black by Popular Demand shirts.
Swag. I like it.
And my spectacles, Black History Month, I got to have my Black History drip. Okay, my African earrings. Okay,
Love them. Love it.
boom.
Respect. Yeah,
Small.
I got on Target's finest. You know what I'm saying? Got the legend on my shirt. Cause as some of you know, some of y'all don't. I'm definitely a hip hop head and I'm an artist in the hip hop culture. So paying homage to the greats that came before me is always something I like doing. So that's my Black History piece.
Boom.
Nobody told me so.
Man, you literally have on black right now. Like
I always wear black.
literally have on black. She looks
Every
like
day.
she looks like a millennial panther right now. Like that's what she's giving. That's the vibes. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But okay, Lauren. So this is what's crazy to me that you had to preface that conversation, how you're doing, with the disclaimer, like I don't want the pleasantries.
Mhm.
I feel like that is a very common response when that question comes about, when somebody asks you how you're doing, or even when you ask somebody else how you're doing. It's like, do you really care at all? Are you offering a safe space in that moment, or you literally just trying to be nice, like I said, giving the pleasantries from both the ask and the answer? Like what is y'all experience with that? How often is it that y'all actually answer that question with that level of emotional integrity?
I probably never answer with emotional integrity. I never get a right answer because I feel like
I can't even believe that. I feel like you be so straightforward with people. Like I feel like I don't believe that.
no, I always say I'm good because I feel like at this point when you say how are you doing, that's turned into a greeting. Like you have to say how are you doing after hey what's up. You can't just be like hey what's up and then go in a conversation. You have to be like how are you doing? What's going on? And people are like I'm good, everything's good. I've always said I'm good. So it's gonna be hard to get a real answer out of me. Even if with my family and everything, I still say I'm good.
I really appreciate Sarah's approach to this because she's so right. Like it's definitely ingrained in our mind, like to say it's definitely a pleasantry. It's not a real question. It's just kind of automatic too. And you don't really give yourself enough time to think about how you're doing, nor does the person that asks you really want to dedicate any kind of time to legit wait for you to respond and then focus on like, okay, now I got to say something.
Right.
If they give me the really real, they might not even be ready. They just might.
So okay, so as a solution to this problem, because I feel like that's terrible. Do you feel like the solution should be people should ask with the intentionality of really offering that safe space to people, or should you not ask unless you really want to know? What you think is the choice? What is the better solution to the problem?
I think there's multiple better ssolutions. One, don't ask unless you're really prepared to openly receive how that person is feeling.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like that we ask in anticipation of the find or good just to move forward through the conversation. Because honestly, that's not what the conversation is about. But if you get an honest answer, that conversation is going to go left and you're going to need to talk about how that person's feeling. So if you don't have the time or the energy, like the mental capacity to handle how somebody's doing, I definitely think that we should move in the direction of just not asking. You can transition to saying,
she said we gotta ask.
Hey, I hope all is well. I'm not asking you how you're doing. I'm just saying, hey, I hope all is well.
And then they come back and say, no, I'm not good.
Actually, it's not well. Actually, I got a lot going on right now. And we need to have a sit-down conversation so I can let you know exactly what's going on in my life. Because it's not all well. Exactly. And Lauren, I feel like you kind of obligated to listen. You're like a mental health professional. So you gotta listen. Like you don't have no choice. Me and Sarah, we were educated, so we still had to kind of take on, but we in different capacity now. Sarah's a mom, so she still gotta listen. She gotta listen to and the wife, so she still gotta, I'm good. I'm be like, listen, I don't really care.
Jarrell be like, deuces.
I don't really care, bro.
You're not gonna say that.
I don't care. Like, nah, I don't care. I don't care how you're doing. So anyway, let's get what we talking about. That's not your life. Okay, cool.
Oh my gosh. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, so one, I don't think you should ask if you're not prepared to listen. But two, if you're on the receiving end and you need to answer, I think you need to be honest by saying, I don't really want to, like, we could say that for another day, or I don't really want to get into it, or all things considered, I'm fine for the most part. I don't know what the answer, I don't have the right answer yet, but I definitely think that we need to move towards being a little bit more genuine.
Yeah, my answer is always, it's always like a joke. I say, I can't complain. I mean, I could, but I'm gonna choose not to. That's what I say. Like, hey, bro, how you doing? Like, hey, man, I can't complain. Well, I mean, I could complain, but who cares? Nobody gonna care anyway. Like, I feel like that's as honest. That's honest.
Yeah, that's honest.
That's how I approach. So, all right. So, taking a step further, forget how you doing. I mean, both of you are married now, so I know every time I love yous are exchanged, they're heartfelt and they mean well, right? So, what about in situation? You said what?
I said he put that on us like he can't say I love you and mean it.
But that's not what I said. I was just prefixing that with the disclaimer. So I'm like, now I don't expect y'all to be like, I mean, yeah, I say I love you all the time. It don't mean, but I don't expect y'all to say that. However, have you ever been in situations where you were saying the two, I love you too, in a space to do the same thing, fill that void that was prompted, like to be nice or like pleasant, like what do you think? Sarah, like, nope. I don't think I.
I mean, actually, no. I can say something about this, like on the friendship side. So sometimes we have, I don't have any friendships now, but like before in my life, I've had friendships where like maybe that they're more friends with me than I am them, just because of like different things. And I mean, if you say you know, I love you, girl, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I love you too, but I really don't, because I don't think we're on that level, but they think we're on that level. Does that make sense? So I have been in that situation before, and I just say it back, and it is what it is, because I mean, I'm not gonna, if they say I love you, I'm not gonna be like, oh, okay, we'll talk to you later. Like, I just think it's rude to leave somebody hanging, especially in that term.
That is crazy.
No,
oh yeah,
that I feel it, and I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing on both sides, the platonic side and the romantic side, prior to my current relationship, disclaimer. But I have kind of felt like I've been in positions where saying I love you back became more dutiful than genuine.
All right, I love you too. Okay, all right.
Just to preserve the relationship where we are right now, to meet your emotional need in this moment. And sometimes it's not even much of a thought, like especially what Sarah says with friends. I don't think I'm a very emotionally, verbally expressive person to my friends. But whenever they say it to me, I'm gonna say it back, like, because that's what I definitely feel like love languages are important, and if that's what they need from me, then I'm gonna give to them. I love you, like you love me. I love you too, girl.
So okay, so you said that. So you like, if that's what they need in that moment, that's what you're gonna give, even that's not what you personally feeling or doing. Okay, yeah. So let me step it up a little bit for you guys.
You didn't answer.
I'm about to. Okay, first of all, yes, of course, I've done that many times.
Of course, yes.
Of course, and more so on the romantic side than the friend side, because when it's a friend, like if that is being exchanged, it's like, yeah, I definitely got love for you, like that's no questions. But yeah, on the romantic side, I definitely have had to say that a couple times. But what I would say, taking it a step further, Lauren, everybody heard Lauren say that if that's what they need, that's their love language is, then you can try your best to accommodate. Well, what about in the sense of like hugging? I'm not a super affectionate person by nature. It takes a level of pulling that out of me versus it just being a natural thing that I do. So there's been situations where you can probably tell by how the hug is going that I'm not really invested. Like I'm not really invested in a hug like that. Like I'm giving it to you because this is what you want from me in this moment. It's not because I want to exchange this with you. So I feel like that's in the same lines, in which case I am merely trying to accommodate your love language, right?
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, I just wish that I was able to see these moments where Jarrell
Bro,
was being coerced into hugging.
it's been bad. Like you ain't like, okay, one time, like I was getting a hug. Like, okay, it's normally like stages. When I feel like I'm not in a strong place of obligation to do so, I literally just stood like,
Real stoic. Did your arms move? That's not a hug.
both times, like either my arms are like pinting, like my arms are like pinting like this, and I'm getting hugged around me, and I'm just like this.
Someone's
Or
hugging
like
around
they come
your
in
arms?
this, they come in
That's
this
not a
way,
hug.
they come in this way for the hug around the waist like that, and I'm just like, yeah, it's
Wow.
happened. For those of you who are listening to the audio, I just acted it out, and Sarah and Lauren's face are appalled at how I carry this
Because
hug.
he didn't hug back. Like the hug.
Because if somebody ever did that to me, I'd be like, well, I'm not giving you a hug. I mean, if you do that, if you are stiff, I'd be like, fine, I don't want a hug anyway. But the fact that they actually kept the hug going when you were like aboard is like, you really want to hug that much that you're gonna hug somebody that don't want to hug you back?
But because of the conversation, because I was vulnerable and transparent with my viewpoint on it. So they understood like hugging's not really my thing, especially in this stage. However, I do understand that you're trying to be accommodated. So we got to kind of meet somewhere in the middle. I'll let you hug me if that's what you
I
want.
have never seen a meet me in the middle hug aside
Ever.
from the church hug or the side hug.
Right.
Jarrell didn't even do the side hug for this person. He didn't move his arms at all. And I feel like moving your arms helps solidify that it was a hug. So y'all, I don't think Jarrell.
But I mean, like the tap, you get the tap. The tap is good, right? Like after this, it's like, because this is what normally happens. It comes in for the hug, you tap, but then they hold and want the embrace, and I'm just like, okay. But you said that's the same thing though. The same thing is if we're, you say how you doing, or I say what's up, how you doing, and you just be like, I'm good because you asked, but you're not really being open with me. You're just accommodating my question. Or if somebody say I love you and you just say I love you too, you're just accommodating my verbal affection. Like, so I feel like y'all can't look at me and judge because y'all did the same thing.
But we were active in ours, and you were not active in your hug.
At all. At all.
Active hug. You just stood up.
All right.
You did all the work.
All right. Because you wanted, that's what you wanted it. So why can I not expect you to put the work in for something that you wanted? I didn't request this.
I mean, we didn't request getting I love you, but we actively said
Gave it back.
It was a call and response.
Yeah, you could have gave that hug back.
You could have gave that hug back. It's not the same.
Well, y'all could have hit him with the word. That's so sweet of you.
Right. That would have been your version of your hug if we would have just said, oh, what? Like, I will receive your love. Thank you.
But we're not giving it back.
Give it back.
But is that not what we're asking for in a greater space of mental health and wellness, emotional transparency and integrity, right? That's what we're asking for. That's what, especially when it comes from women to men, I feel like that is a strong ask because I feel like men don't express themselves, right? I don't know. I won't speak blanketly, but with a blanket statement, but that's a prominent issue that I've heard a lot with women is that men they're not expressive. They're not emotionally integrous and transparent about what they feel. However, in that request, you also have to be accepting, because a lot of things we do and we do say sometimes, and I'm not, once again, I'm speaking for myself. So if you sitting with your man right now, don't be staring him in the side of his head because of what I'm saying. This is me speaking for me only. There are times where our feelings are more so, I won't even neglected, but they're set aside because in the protective provider position, we got to take that. We are okay taking that L sometimes for y'all benefit. So you gotta pick one side. You can't have both. You can't have emotional integrity and, you know,
and what
protected and provided for. Like I don't feel like it works like that in every situation. It's not a blanket statement. That's how I feel.
I think that has to do with your significant other.
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree.
I mean, because if they don't want to let you be emotionally vulnerable, then that's you.
Okay.
No, I think you need to find a new significant other.
Okay, so let's
should be able to be a provider and still be emotionally vulnerable in a relationship.
I got you. So let's go this like surface. Let's go some surface stuff, right? All right. Lauren. So you chilling. You chilling.
I'm chilling.
And not to say you would do this. This is hypothetical.
Oh
you
God.
chilling. Might come in. Right? You like, I want some such and such. I want this that is not in this house. I've been here. I've been on my computer sending emails for Propel and writing podcast dockets all day. But I want this thing that's not here. Let me call my husband and tell him that that's what I want. Right? You about to call him. Mike walks in. You still be like, I want this. You even ask him, could you go get this for me? Let's say he did not want to, like he really didn't. He was like, nah, I don't want to do that. Now, if he just was like, nah, I don't want to get you that. Would that even be an expectation? Or you'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool.
That was a very detailed hypothetical. Just
answer the question first. If he was just like, no, I don't want to.
You expect him to go get it for you.
Oh, would I expect him to go get it for me?
Yeah. Or would you be like, oh, okay, that's fine. You don't have to go get it.
Okay, so this is how the conversation will really go, since it's clearly not hypothetical.
So this has happened before.
This has happened.
It has happened.
Okay.
And it's gonna happen some more. I feel like it's gonna happen. But the conversation is gonna go one or two ways. One, I'm ringing him and he walking in the door and the phone. And I said, oh, I was just gonna ask if you could blah, 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 blah. If he says no, his no is never no. His no is more like a right now. Like right now.
Okay.
Which is translated, in Mike language to nah, I don't want to, I'm not feeling it. So my response will either be no, not right now, but later, in a few, we can go together. So that means like, I hear you and I will value that you don't want to turn around right now. So we don't have to go right now, but we're gonna go tonight. We're gonna go. And I'll even volunteer and go with you later on. Or I say, oh, okay, which is me saying, I acknowledge you saying, no, you don't want to go right now. And I'm okay with that because I could Uber Eats it or I'll go by myself. Or he would say, yeah. He'll say, all right, come on. Or he'll say, all right, I'll go.
So that's it. So what it sounds like is that's a 2 out of 3 odds that you're expecting him to say yes. That you're expecting to get what you want out of the situation.
Oh, if I'm asking, then I'm expecting
exactly.
Yes.
So when I say, and not to say that women don't do the same thing, but it's like I don't. And once again, I'm speaking solely from my perspective, but it is not to say that women don't accommodate in the same fashion, but I feel like with guys, we don't even take it as a whether I feel like doing this or not. It's more so this is what she's asking of me. This is what I'm going to do. Even if I'm stomping my feet and I'm rolling my eyes. All right, babe, I got it. I know she was just coming in the house. No. But when he comes back, he's going to be like, here you go. Like, this is what it is, because the greater goal is making you happy, not always just his feelings. So all that to say, if you are expecting or asking for emotional transparency, even in those situations, you got to be okay with the response regardless. And I don't feel like, not to say you women, not to say any women, but I don't feel like all are prepared for that emotional transparency from men the way that they're asking for it. That's how I see it.
Okay, but I got scenarios on the flip side too, homie.
I just said that.
Go ahead, Lauren. Go ahead, what you got?
Okay, because it sounds like
Trigger face. That's what I was going for. Let's get it.
It sounds like you're talking about the emotional vulnerability connecting with like dutiful or obligation tasks, such as food. Okay, because now we're just talking about food, retrieving food. On the flip side, if we're still keeping it at food for the other person, cooking or preparing meals, preparing lunches. I work from home. He doesn't work from home. We eat multiple times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. A lot of the times, one, although the bulk of the responsibility falls on me to preparing food for the household, I don't necessarily always want to. I might want to stomp my feet or roll my eyes or what have you. However, if there's a question and he says, hey, what's for dinner? Or hey, what's for lunch? Or opens the fridge and then just kind of stares at it for a while. And then opens the pantry and stares at it for a while. Then opens the fridge all the way around, peeks over, all these subliminal things.
Man, was that my... that was my stomach growling?
That's kind of similar to me picking up my phone and calling and say, hey, can you scoop this up? He's also making hey, I know you're busy, or I know you're over there, but can we make something happen in this kitchen? So, I mean, I can honestly say, no, I don't want to. I'm busy. You're grown. You've got hands. You know where stuff is and make it yourself.
Like, would you say that though? Or
I could say, all right, I'll be right there. Or I can direct him to something that is already made in advance. Like if you open the fridge and if you go on the second shelf, blah, 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 blah. So.
All right. So I'm just going strictly, I'm going strictly off numbers here. Okay. Strictly numbers. When the roles were reversed, you got a 2 out of 3 chance of getting what you want out of the deal. From the other perspective, that was the 2 out of 3 chance that you could say no and that he was going to have to get it himself. And they've been okay with that.
What? If I'm directing him to something.
You said either A, I'm going to be like, no, because I don't feel like he had that choice. I don't think he had that choice. No, you're grown. Go get up off the couch and go get it yourself.
No, I'm saying that was my version of the stomp, stomp, eye roll.
Oh.
Like, in my mind, I'm like, but we both grown. Just go.
That wouldn't be expressed though, was what you're saying.
No, okay.
I was about to sound like, dang, I want to go hard.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm saying Mike ain't going for that.
No, I wouldn't say that to him. I wouldn't say that to him. That was my version of an eye roll. Like, oh my gosh, eye roll, stop, stomp, stomp.
I got you. Well, all in all, it just sounds like everybody never is always emotionally integrous, and a lot of times we do things just to accommodate other people. That's the basis of that whole thing. And I feel like I said, on both fronts, because I don't even know if all the time I want a woman to be completely emotionally transparent with me in all aspects. So I just feel like that's a thing that maybe, I don't know. Do you think the world is ready for complete emotional integrity from everybody?
We don't want that smoke.
Good. We don't want that smoke. I feel like we should just leave it right there, because I feel like we should leave it there. Let's leave it there. Trigger warning. Where we going? Where we going next?
All right. Jarrell done took us all the way left, and we went well over what we were supposed to talk about. But nevertheless, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Black History Month Day from Field to Field. So we're starting events for that triggering topic that Jarrell has started within your household. Now you're arguing.
Don't blame me. Don't blame the messenger. Don't do that.
Nevertheless, our trigger, that was a trigger warning segment, but this is our official trigger warning segment. So I want to talk to you guys today about one, because it's Black History Month. I want us to be super Black this episode, and in doing so, instead of talking about specific people that have kind of laid the foundation for us culturally, I want to talk about systems. I want to talk about big picture things and our relationship, like multi-generational relationship with different systems. So the government, healthcare, and medical stuff, talking about social justice, like police. I want to talk about a bunch of school educational systems. Like I want to talk about different systems and how they impact Black folk as a whole and what our relationship is to those different systems. So I know Sarah is a teacher, Jarrell is a teacher. So maybe we can talk about education a little bit, or maybe we can jump, it's Black History Month. We're still during the 2020 remnants rolling into 2021. So we could talk about social injustice as far as police. We can talk about COVID. And I think we should talk about COVID. We'll talk about that last though. So where are we starting with Black folk and systems?
I feel like it's macro to micro. I mean, each of those systems kind of coincide with kind of pushing the same agenda. Like, as you said, Sarah and I are both elementary educators primarily. So we see how, well, I'll speak for myself. Like I've seen how even in what will be from public perception or just like surface level view, places that are havens for Black children. I worked at a Christian school. That's, you got all Black people and you got God. How can that be wrong for a child's development? And of course, there were plenty of amazing educators in that building and all of that. But in terms of systemically, there was still a level of indoctrination that was happening to our Black children, as opposed to what I consider to be learning how to think and exposure to the world as it is, not as it's perceived to be, not as the history books has written it to be. And I feel like that's a problem, because that's how our education system has been since integration. Once that became a avenue for public control, like government control, it hasn't been, I don't feel like it has been a great upside. I know, speaking to older educators, that grew up during school segregation and all of that, that said, yeah, though we might not have the best in terms of the books, our facilities and things of that nature, we were building and molding prominent Black people that would later on go on to do great things, because they were in foundations to where I was, the system around them was catering to what they needed for the world that we're living in today. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I mean, going all the way up to college, we all went to HBCUs. I know, Lauren, didn't you did your postgraduate at PWI though, right?
Yeah, I did.
So like you even saw from that perspective on a grander scale, how the difference in cultivating minds happens in a community that's geared towards cultivating the Black mind versus cultivating just a mind for America. And like I said, it felt like it goes into the system. They don't want us to be successful beyond control, I feel like. And I feel like a lot of the education system is based not in mental freedom and expression and intellectual exploration, is geared mostly in, I'm telling you what to think. So then when you get to the point where I can now utilize your skills, your mind is gone. And I feel like that was one of the things we talked about with slavery. That was literally the ideology. Like, take the body and use the body, but destroy the mind so that they can't think for themselves. And I feel like that's how our education system as a whole, but specifically in terms of Black children is still set up to this day. So that's why I feel like I'm fortunate to be in a more hybrid teaching situation now, so that I can, you know, kind of say and do as I please than what the curriculum is telling me I have to do. I know that was a mouthful, but that was very triggering for me, because looking at them babies and like understanding like y'all are not getting prepared for what the real world looks like in school. And I feel like that's what the point of them spending 8 hours a day there. Like we're supposed to be cultivating them for the world that we live in, not the world that was once, not the world that is perceived. Like it's crazy, but I'm sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I definitely agree. I'm on the flip side. I worked at a Title I school with all Black, all Hispanic. However, the staff was 90% Caucasian. So they honestly, even though we had teachers at my school that were like on point and kind of like very good at relating to what we needed, what the Black students and what the Hispanic students needed to be successful, there were a lot of teachers that weren't, and they weren't able to connect with the kids and give them what they need in order to be successful. So I also think it's important about, you know, representation of Black teachers in Black schools. Like, I don't understand why Black teachers weren't being hired to teach Black kids. Like, why are you turning away a Black educator and picking, you know, the white counterpart when, you know, it's really us that they need to see, because we know what they need to be successful. And I also think it goes down to like systems like what their parents went through, because the area, of course, I mean, working in Title I, you kind of know what area that I'm talking about. But if the parents have a negative stigma about school, I honestly think a lot of the kids were coming in with a negative stigma about school, and the teachers weren't able to relate and to build them up because of what had happened in the house. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think, especially in the education system, there's like, I mean, I guess you could call it a generational curse, but it all stems down from, you know, where the kids are coming from and the lack of ability to be able to bring them back up.
I really appreciate both of you guys' perspective. I want to talk a little bit more about the mental health system, because it does tie into the educational system. Like, we have school counselors, we have school social workers, and then there are sometimes that involve like behavioral support plans or IEPs and stuff like that. And then taking it a step further to have youth and young adults transition to full-fledged mental health treatment companies or organizations. It's all super skewed as far as how Black individuals are being represented and treated for the mental health side of things. I definitely see an influx of a specific diagnosis or an influx of diagnoses that coincide with medication treatment for children or for youth that are in school systems. And we would do a way more thorough assessment and intervention plan if they were not Title I, or if they were not Black or brown students trying to occupy space within private schools. So I think that, again, slavery, racism, prejudice, there's a lot of bias that is ingrained within a lot of different systems that motivate us. So I'm really excited that the three of us are Black professionals within our field, and we're able to see that, and we're experiencing that, and we're working against that, and we're trying to educate and support and advocate for the young folks that are still in those systems, but also our peers or supervisors, superiors, and advocate like, no, we're going to have to change everything that we've been doing systemically, because it doesn't serve our population. Like, it doesn't meet our needs. There's this quote that I really like using, is when you label me, you diminish me. And within the healthcare system, and you guys can speak about education, I'm not sure, but we attach labels to a lot of different clients that we work with, and we definitely group them and we cluster them into one, and it just is a disservice. So thank you guys for your perspective on what it looks like to be Black within the education system and within the mental health care system.
And then, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And then I was going to say, like, even into once again go back from micro to macro, how other systems coincide with the education system. Like, for example, the judicial system, which has been proven to be directly correlated with the education system, by way of the school to prison pipeline, which, for lack of a better words, they take predominantly Black and brown test scores from third graders, and based off of their reading levels, they're gauging how many prison cells that they're able to profit off of, because we know that our penal system isn't for any type of rehabilitation. That's not the point. The point of it is to have as many bodies available to profit off of. So that's literally slavery, for lack of a better word. So the fact that our education system is being used, like I said, specifically in brown and Black communities, specifically being used to channel in free labor to a lot of these humongous corporations that are making millions and billions of dollars upon still making money off Black and brown bodies. Like it's triggering, to say the least. But the point that I'm making there is the government that we live in, the system that we live in, that's all inclusive, would rather spend the tens of thousands of dollars a month to keep somebody in jail, to where they can make profit off their free labor, as opposed to investing that $10,000 to $15,000 a month that they will be spending on them in jail, to have them do something that's more lucrative to not only themselves, but to the society as a whole. Like, how could you imagine a kid, they say roughly about $5,000 to $10,000 a month to keep somebody in prison. Times $5,000 by 12, that's $60,000 a year. You could take that $60,000 and send him to school. You could take that $60,000 to invest in his trade, or to give that child money for their own business. But you would rather spend it on keeping them mentally and physically bound to the system. The same with, I feel like, now, of course, people need welfare because of the country that we live in, but as opposed to putting resources together that would not have them have to be dependent on the system, you put them in direct, like, I gotta depend on the system to survive. Like, that's systemic. They intertwine so crazy that it's just like, how do you pick one out and fix it without a full overhaul of the country? Like, which is not the point. Then I don't feel like, since we've been here, that's ever been the point. There's never been a point of equality. The caste system is working the way it's supposed to. Like, so that's what I feel like is most triggering to me, because we have so many conversations about how we can fix things, or, what we want to see better. But I'm like, that's from a perspective of, which ironically is the vast majority, because the majority of the people are living in the middle, where either they're ignorant to what's going on in the Black community, or they actually do want to see equality. But because those are not the people that's in power, bro, like it's almost null and void to think that, some of these things would change. I mean, we saw that in our previous 4 years with our commander and idiot. Like, that's what the country they want it to be run in the fashion that it is. We are just actively fighting against trying to get it to change, but that's a whole nother story. Sorry, friends, I had to let that out. That was
No, that was good. That was good.
Man. Yeah.
It was good. It was a lot, but I think it was necessary to just kind of paint the picture of how all these systems intertwine, and they're kind of set up for our oppression and demise, and using us physically, but not cultivating our minds. So I think that was powerful enough.
For the rest of this awesome conversation, stay tuned for part 2.